to Arts on the Hill, the live in 3D version. If you're like me, you're feeling fortunate and grateful to be here in person. And if you're also like me, you're also feeling fortunate and grateful that I'm not the one performing tonight. Instead, we have four incredible musicians. John Dirk, who is the director of jazz performance at UVA and an incomparable trumpet player, and his colleagues, Scott DeVoe, who is a professor of critical and comparative studies on the keyboards. And we have Robert Jospe, who's a lecturer in groove percussion, which is by far the best title at UVA I've never heard. He's going to be on the drums. And then we have Chris Monson on the bass, who is an alum and a composer and a music teacher. For those of you who don't know, we started Arts on the Hill in 2020, and the idea was to allow Cars Hill to be a venue to showcase the amazing artistic talent at UVA, but also occasionally to invite in visiting performers and to have a small and intimate gathering where members of the audience could also interact with the performers, whether musicians or poets. And one of the very first events we had at Cars Hill after it was renovated was in February of 2020, almost 18 months ago. We had the first Arts on the Hill live performance, and with an amazing gospel choir visiting Charlottesville. That turned out to be the last live performance of Arts on the Hill, and one of the last performances or last events at Cars Hill because COVID shut the world down in March. We did not let that stop Arts on the Hill, and instead moved to the digital version of Arts on the Hill, which proved really popular in the pandemic. And we've had over 280,000 views of the various sessions of Arts on the Hill. And the very first performer of the digital version on Arts on the Hill was, I'll give you a chance to answer the quiz, was John Dirk, yes, playing Simple Gifts. So it's only fitting that John is back to kick off what I hope will be a longer run of live events around Arts on the Hill. There are many people to thank, including everyone who helped set up this event. But I also want to extend a special thanks to Jody Kilbasa, who is Vice Provost for the Arts, Scott Dunnenberg, Rob Dunnenberger, who's the UVA Arts Events Coordinator, Matt Weber, who is UVA's Chief Creative Officer and a Senior Advisor to the President, me, and Jess Harris, who's a Presidential Fellow. And I will say that Matt and Jess were really the heart and soul of Arts on the Hill, especially as we had to pivot to the digital edition. And they're really why this has continued. So I think they deserve a round of applause. And with that, I will turn it over to the musicians. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. And for doing this, to emphasize the arts so much is such a great thing. I am going to play, I don't want to talk too much, but you have this fabulous electricity scene here. We just want to make the point that everybody playing up here has been involved in UVA very intensely, some of us for decades, playing jazz music. Since 2017, when the Nazis and white supremacists came to the town, it has been very different for us because we now are proudly proclaiming something that is very obvious. We're the four of us, who by the way have never played together before, I think, as a group. So you're going to get to see some magic of what this music can do in terms of communicating. But we are proudly able to say we are four white men playing black music. Jazz is black music. And it's the end, as Dave Liebman said, jazz is black music, end of story. But we proudly say that now because I used to not want to proselytize too much for jazz. Jazz is my thing, you know, so I don't want to tell everybody they should love jazz. But it's become so relevant in the country since George Floyd and everything else that this was created out of a black experience. We don't want to hammer this too hard, but it must be said first. Also, jazz teaches two things. It gives music back to the musicians, cuts out the middleman. You must know the music yourself, and you must be yourself. You do your own thing with it. That said, let's play some music. We're going to play mostly just standard tunes this afternoon that we love to play, and every time we play these tunes, they're different. That's the lesson. That's what we're hoping for. So we're going to start with a tune that I think you guys will be familiar with, Bye Bye Blackberry. when I end these tunes, begin them, we just play for you. And I did these house concerts in Northern Virginia at a guy's house named John Mahogany. And he insisted when he would hire a band to come and play at his house that everybody in the band had to talk about why they were there playing the music that they're playing. So maybe since we're not doing a real formal camera up here, but we want to hear from these folks, we'll do a little bit of that at some point. Maybe we'll play another standard first, and I'm going to play a standard tune that most of you probably know called Body and Soul, which is usually a gorgeous ballad. But we're going to play it sort of like a second line reggae tune, which jazz is very invitational. It just invites everything in, and we do whatever we want with it. So here's a little different take on the standard Body and Soul. I'm watching the time here. Music is always preferable to talking. No offense to anybody who talks, but I talk way too much. But I think at this point I'm just going to play one more tune. We'll do 3 little tunes and then invite you guys to, if anybody has a question for us, and then I'm going to get these guys talking to you a little bit about what we're doing. And I hope that's pleasant. So right now we're going to play a blues. This jazz comes from 3 sources of the repertoire. Comes from the blues and other black musical innovations that were developed over centuries and got recorded finally and went around the world to change everybody's hearing. We use the blues. We use the American Songbook, which is, you know, standard tunes, Cole Porter, George Gershwin, all of that sort of music. And we use the original compositions of the musicians themselves. Right now we're going to play an original blues by Miles Davis called Veered Blues, with a V, Veered Blues. But this blues starts with a hymn. He played a hymn out front, and I wish I knew what this hymn was. Somebody probably knows it. But we'll start with the little hymn that he played, and then we'll play Veered Blues. Robert Johnson on the drums. Chris Monson on the bass. And on the piano, Professor Scott DeVoe, Professor DeVoe. Saying, you know, this is how music works. It's all about shaping time. You know, what is rhythm, by the way? Did you ever think about defining rhythm? Think about it. Rhythm is the frequency and duration of events. When stuff happens and how long it lasts. Everything is rhythmic. It's the ground of being, rhythm. Sorry, but I don't mean to be heavy, but think about it. Frequency and duration. Anyway, I'm going to talk very briefly about my students. I'm extremely proud of the UVA Jazz Program students for what we did last year through COVID. I knew at the beginning when we shut down and did studies that we were not going to be bringing wind instruments or even any musicians into Old Cabell Hall to try to play in an unventilated space. So we found a recording studio where we could isolate the wind players 3 at a time. We brought the rhythm section in. We made 7 albums of music. And if you want to hear it, it's 4 small groups. It's the Jazz Ensemble, which is a big band, did a double CD, and 2 DMP projects. A singer named Tina Hashemi, just tremendous vocalist, and a pianist named Thomas Kehoe did distinguished major projects. You can all listen to this music and access it if you can just remember virginiajazz.org will take you straight to our project, and the kids, the work they did was unbelievable, and it was a lot more work than usual. They were in the studio all the time, all night, but they had fun. All right, if there's time for it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, we'll close with a tune. And I think I'm going to close with a tune that was made, it came from a movie. The tune is called On Green Dolphin Street. It came from a movie of the same name. It's an old movie with, you know, Sidney Greenstreet, that cohort. And if you listen to the movie, if you see the movie, the way they use this song in the movie is just incredibly beautiful. But Miles Davis lifted this song and made it his own. And we all play it now. It's sort of like a standard that we got from Miles. And Joss and I have also been doing some percussion and flute improv for years and years. So we're going to start with a little of that so you can hear a little different sound, and then we'll play Green Dolphin Street. And then if we're still here, please ask us questions or anything you want to do. And if anybody has a question, let us know that. It'd be totally fine. so much. Scott DeVoe on piano, Chris Monson on the bass. What we do for music. Robert Jospin on the drums and John Burkham, flute, horn, trumpet, flute. Thank you all, and listen, we're here if you have any questions.